Most American gardeners use barely half the growing space in their raised beds and do not even realize it. We build these beautiful boxes, fill them with great soil, and then plant in flat rows like we are farming a quarter acre. Meanwhile, the Amish have been growing 3 times the food out of the same footprint for generations without a single power tool or fancy gadget. After 3 decades of growing my own food, today I am sharing 6 of their best secrets for tripling your growing space. Number 5 is one most modern gardeners get completely wrong. Plus, stick around for a bonus tip the Amish use to keep beds producing well into November. Before we get into the list, you need to understand something about the Amish approach to a garden. For them, waste is not just inconvenient, it is a moral failing. Every square inch of soil is a gift, and leaving it bare is like leaving food on the table when someone is hungry. They call it making do, getting the absolute most. So let us start with the first secret, and it gives you the biggest immediate payoff. Vertical trellising right on the edges of your raised beds. Most of us plant everything flat and our beds fill up fast, but the Amish treat the edges of a raised bed like vertical real estate. They run simple trellises made from wooden stakes and twine along the long sides and train climbing crops upward. Pole beans, cucumbers, smaller melons, even tromboncino squash. By growing vertically on the edges, the interior stays wide open for low-growing crops like lettuce, carrots, and beets. You are adding an entire second layer of growing space without making the bed any bigger. Place your trellis on the north side so it does not shade out the shorter plants. Use 6 to 8 foot stakes set about 12 inches apart. This works in zones 3 through 9, and you will see your harvest from a single 4x8 bed nearly double just from this one change. The second secret is one the Amish practically live by, and that is succession planting in the same bed. The Amish think that is a terrible waste of good soil. The moment one crop finishes, another goes right in. Early spring lettuce and radishes get pulled in late May, and bush beans go in the same day. When those beans finish in mid-August, in goes fall spinach, kale, or turnips. 1 bed, 3 harvests, same season. The key is knowing your days to maturity and your first frost date. If frost hits around mid-October, count back 60 days and you can still get a full crop of fall radishes or Asian greens. The Amish keep simple notebooks to track what went where and when, and after a few seasons it becomes second nature. This single habit can triple the total food output of a raised bed over 1 year. Number 3 is all about what is underneath the surface. Deep soil preparation with layered composting. The Amish do not just fill a raised bed with store-bought mix and call it a day. They build their soil in layers like a lasagna. At the bottom goes coarse material like small branches or corn stalks. On top of that, a thick layer of aged horse or cow manure, then finished compost, and finally a few inches of good garden soil. This creates a deep, loose root zone that lets plants send roots down 12 to 18 inches instead of fighting compacted soil at 6. As those bottom layers break down, they feed the bed from below for years. When roots go deep, you can plant closer together on the surface because plants are not all competing in the same shallow band. That is how the Amish get away with spacing tomatoes at just 18 inches apart instead of the 36 inches most seed packets recommend. Now, real quick, if you are finding these tips helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I share new gardening secrets every single week, and I would love to have you along for the ride. Number 4 is interplanting, and it is one of the oldest tricks in the Amish playbook. Instead of giving every crop its own row with empty space on either side, the Amish tuck fast-growing crops in between the larger, slower ones. A classic example is planting leaf lettuce in the gaps between tomato transplants. By the time the tomatoes are big enough to shade that space, the lettuce has already been harvested. Another favorite is tall corn planted down the center of a bed with bush beans underneath and low trailing squash on the edges, a variation on the old Three Sisters method that Native American communities perfected and many Amish families. When you layer this way, every square inch of soil and sunlight is working. A single 4x8 bed can hold what would normally fill 2 or 3 separate plantings. Secret number 5 is the one I mentioned in the opening, and it is where most modern gardeners go wrong. Ultra-close spacing made possible by incredibly rich soil. Pick up any seed packet and the recommended spacing assumes average garden soil. But after years of adding manure, compost, and organic matter, Amish raised bed soil is so fertile they can tighten spacing by 30 to 50% and still get full-sized, healthy plants. They plant peppers at 12 inches instead of 18. They grow leaf lettuce in solid blocks with just 4 inches between plants. They seed carrots so thickly they practically carpet the surface and thin as they harvest baby carrots for the table. Now, I want to be honest. This only works if your soil is truly exceptional. If you try tight spacing and poor soil, you will get stunted, diseased plants. Build the soil first using that layered composting method. From secret number 3, and after a season or two, start pushing your spacing closer. The 6th and final secret is one that not every gardener agrees on, but I have seen it work in Amish gardens across Pennsylvania, using living mulch between your main plants. Instead of leaving bare soil between rows, some Amish growers plant low-growing white clover or let purslane fill in naturally as a living carpet. The clover fixes nitrogen in the soil, feeding your vegetables while it grows. The dense ground cover holds moisture, suppresses weeds, and keeps soil cool during July and August heat. Now, some gardeners claim this competes with main crops for water, and there is a bit of debate about this one. In my experience, the benefits outweigh the drawbacks as long as you keep the living mulch trimmed low and your main crops are established before the ground cover fills in. If you are in zones 5 through 8, try seeding white Dutch clover between your tomato rows in early June and see what happens. Now, here is that bonus tip I promised. The Amish extend their season using simple cold frames built right on top of They set these up in late September, and that fall spinach and those late carrots keep growing through the first frost. I used this same method last year and pulled fresh greens on Thanksgiving Day. The cold frame traps heat during the day and keeps soil just warm enough at night. It is perfectly with succession planting from secret number 2. Folks, those are 6 Amish raised bed secrets that can truly triple your growing space, plus a bonus that keeps the harvest going long after your neighbors have packed it in. If this helped you see your raised beds in a new way, give it a like, drop a comment telling me which secret you are trying first, and subscribe so you do not miss next week. Until then, happy growing.